What happens when you let an old Democrat Socialist take a meeting with a young Democrat Socialist? A lot of bad ideas. Claim your free Trump 2020 hat. Just cover ShippingRep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders want to turn the post office into a bank, but the post office loses billions annually as it is. From American Mirror. After the duo announced a proposal to create a postal banking system, they didn't seem sure if they should embrace in the Biden hands-off era. As Bernie wrapped it up, Oc waved to the camera. He waved and she put her hand on his shoulder. He then put his hand on her arm before she leaned in for the awkward side hug. Watch TrendingPolitics.com, the best collection of pro-Trump news on the planet. Most #awkward hug of all time at Oc at Bernie Sanders at Breitbart News #Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez #Bernie Sanders pic.twitter.com/DJ1Alctr, Mr. Producer, at Rich Cementa May 9, 2019 about the post office losing a boatload of money, via Reason. The U.S. Postal Service lost more than $2 billion during the second quarter of the fiscal year, putting it on track to finish the current year more than $7 billion in the red, way worse than the nearly $4 billion in losses it posted last year. In its quarterly fiscal report, published today, the Post Office reported small decreases in mail volume and overall revenue compared to the same quarter of 2018. Its big losses are driven by a sharp increase in expenses, primarily workers' compensation costs, pension liabilities, and payments for retirees' health benefits. For the fiscal year that ended on September 30, 2018, the Postal Service recorded a then-record loss of $3.9 billion. At the time, Postmaster General Megan Brennan bluntly declared that the agency cannot generate revenue or cut enough costs to pay our bills and predicted that the agency would continue to post losses at an accelerating rate. After losing $1.5 billion in the first quarter of the current fiscal year, the Post Office has now lost $3.6 billion in just 6 months. That comes even after an increase in the cost of sending first-class mail. The cost of a stamp jumped 5% on January 1, and other mailing services increased by 2.5%. The agency predicted that those changes would increase revenue by $1.7 billion, but expenses have been outpacing revenues by a wide margin. Nationwide poll: should Trump cut pensions for former presidents? More from Bloomberg. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez accused banks of acting as modern-day loan sharks and called on Congress to enact a federal limit of 15% on credit card interest rates. The two self-identified Democratic Socialists are set to propose legislation on Thursday capping rates on credit card and other consumer loans and letting post offices offer low-cost basic financial services, such as loans and checking and savings accounts. An outline of the plan released ahead of their formal announcement sharply criticized banks for charging on average more than 17% interest on credit card balances while they are able to borrow money at less than 2.5%. Former conservative pundit and author Ann Coulter recently said she'd possibly support Sanders in 2020. But would she vote for Trump if anyone but Sanders gets the Democrat nomination? It looks like many Bernie fans will do just that. Poll: should Hillary be tossed in jail? From Washington Examiner, Bernie or bust is their rallying cry, and many supporters of Socialist Sen. Bernie Sanders, I Vermont, say they will vote for President Trump if their candidate is denied the Democratic nomination a second time. After the 2016 election, the Cooperative Congressional Election Study found about 12% of those who voted for Sanders in the Democratic primaries voted for Trump in the general election. There are early signs that Sanders' fervor is so strong that this could double in 2020, a development that could hand the White House to Trump for a second term. An Emerson College poll this month showed 26% of those who support Sanders in the Democratic primaries and caucuses would support Trump over Senator Elizabeth Warren, D.M.S. Despite their overlapping policy positions. The Sanders to Trump inclination stems in part from the belief that the Democratic National Committee cheated Sanders in the bitter 2016 primary with the superdelegate system and Democratic staff bias in favor of eventual nominee Hillary Clinton. Concern over establishment control of the nomination process and other aspects of the campaign season persist among Sanders loyalists. You might like Let's Block Ads. Why?